So actually, my wife ended up saying, if I wasn't funnier on the next one, then I can probably just pack my bags. Oh, hey, we're on live.
Well, are you going to be funnier?
Well, I better be.
Yeah,
You got to throw me some just lollipops and balls up there, and I can
All right, some Dorothy Dixes.
Yeah.
Well, the world needs some laughter. It's been a divisive week, but crypto is steaming ahead regardless. All right, so the news this week. It's been a bit of a slow news week, to be honest. But, well...
I'm excited for what's coming up.
I'm excited. You and I tried our hand at acting this week, and we were both actually terrible at it. So it turns out we did actually try.
I don't know, was it us or was it the director?
Jared. we were terrible.
We literally had to come up with the scripts ourselves.
You know what? It was really difficult. So obviously the crowd audience, you weren't there, but we tried our hand at doing some infomercials, I guess you call them. We wanted to do some short form editing, short form clips for discussing OTC, and we had to rehearse stuff and use a few lines, and we were miserable. Yeah,
it was a different situation where you had to be perfect every time, kind of thing. Whereas here you can make a mistake and be like, oh, I'll just correct that. But you can't do that when you're supposed to be this polished video, you know?
Yeah, our acting debut is in serious question. Yeah. Anyone who saw the outtakes of that would have been like, this guy's useless.
I mean, it doesn't matter, right? For all we know, Leonardo DiCaprio is also completely useless, but he just does 100 takes and they piece together the good bits.
You know what? That's true. I guess that's the editing. Oh, all right.
So Jared, it's all on you again.
Make us look good, Jared.
Make up for your poor directing by your excellent editing.
Our movie careers depend on it. All right, the news this week has been, conjecture is building, Nick. And I'm sure you started this conjecture. This is just general conjecture, not people arguing with you. But Crypto Quant says there's been a number of signals that suggest maybe the bull market's running out of steam. But Fundstrat's Tom Lee has come out and said that's nonsense. We're going 200K just by the end of the year. So buckle up. So who to believe? I don't know. But things are still relatively strong. Ethereum is still pumping. We're up, what are we up, 5.5%? Solana gained 10.5%, maybe off the back of the Treasury news. And Dogecoin absolutely ripping at 13.5%. Bitcoin ETFs have still rolled in lots of funds, to 2.3 billion for the week. And Ethereum taking in just under 637 million US. So still absolutely flying. Now, the Fear and Greed Index, which is a number which I have absolutely no idea what it means still. And, for the sake of this, I'm just never going to find out.
Okay, I won't tell
So
you
I can
that.
just purely be interested in, it's 53. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But is that good? Is that bad? No, it's neutral, apparently, according to my notes.
Yeah. So there was a lot of, if you read sort of the first part of the market sort of history chat over the last week, it's pretty bearish stuff. As you said, there's some charts saying that we're into the bear market. I don't know about that. I had a look at that. So I think it said sort of 8 out of 10 charts are pointing at some bearish signals. When I looked, 5 out of 10 were, so not quite the 8 that suggests we're in dire straits. On top of that, everyone knows that September is a pretty down month. Markets often take a pause before the final push to the end of the year. So I think there's still stuff. There's still reasons to be happy. Obviously, Bitcoin's been treading water for a bit now. We're kind of, we're above 108K or whatever we dipped down to the other week. We're at 116K US at the moment. Not still 6-7% off all-time highs, but I don't think it's anything to get too worried about at the moment. We just need to let it play out and see what happens in October.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we've seen any extreme exuberance yet. I just haven't seen it really. No. I mean, if you just compare the vibes to last cycles, it's nowhere near where we were.
No, and this is where everyone, I hope, is waiting for this blow off top. That kind of price action looks significantly different to what we're seeing at the moment. Right now, we've seen grinds upwards. We grind up to new all-time high. Everyone's pretty happy about it, but there's no sort of wild swings where, prices are wicking up and down. And we just haven't seen anything like that. Those kind of, irrational exuberance moments are where the price really can pump to crazy numbers. And we haven't, to be honest, we really didn't see it last cycle either. Last cycle was pretty muted. We had a weird little double top thing happening. It's kind of 2017 was, the last time we had a real blow off top. And, hopefully we can see something like that again because it's exciting times.
Although at the end of the last cycle, we did have, I guess, interest rates pretty in extremely accommodative, settings, and then they did start rising, and that kind of signaled the end of it. Whereas this time, I guess, Tom Lee's point, kind of the opposite. We're potentially seeing, rate cuts coming up as we're getting to this rate cycle. So as we get into this cycle's supposed peak, we're actually going to see some conditions which are more conducive to, I guess, risk on for volatile assets like Bitcoin. So wait and see. Well, actually, and one announcement. So this week we'll be obviously hanging out with the audience, but next week we'll still be hanging out with the audience. But after that, we're going to Token in Singapore. We're going on the road. Nick's coming. We're going to Singapore. And Tom Lee's Fundstrat will be one of the speakers there. The Winkleveyes might be there. Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. The Trumps. What am I saying? The Trumps. Yeah, both Donald Jr. and Eric Trump will be there. My mate Barron probably wasn't there, but maybe he'll be there hanging out with his brothers. Who knows? But we're going to go on the road and we're going to try and bail some of them up and have a chat to them. Yeah. Do you reckon they'll talk to us?
Oh, they have to. Yeah, they have to.
Depends how hard you bail them up.
From the moonshot.
Yeah, so we'll see how we go. Actually, and another one of your favorite heroes, a hero of yours, Eric Lee. So Eric Wall.
Your surname is Lee.
Anyway, Eric Wall.
No, your name is Lee.
What? Stop confusing me. I can't keep track of all these names.
No, I'm Lee. Wait a minute.
Wait, we are all Lee now. We got invited. Well, no, we didn't get invited. It got accepted.
We invited ourselves.
We invited ourselves. Eric Wall, who is one of your favorite guys in crypto. Yep. We're going to go to his event, and maybe Udi will be there as well. But that's it. We'll see if we can actually talk to those guys.
I'm sure they'll be there. Will they be talking to plebs? I don't know, but maybe we can have a chat.
Have you thought
about? If I'm not too nervous,
Have you thought about some questions you might like to ask them?
Yeah,
like. You want to be friends?
Yeah. What are you wearing? I assume under the wizard suit he's wearing other stuff. I assume he's not fully nude. Oh, that might be a thing. We might need to dress up as wizards.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, because honestly, I think that's a thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's the taproot wizards. They're called. They dress up as wizards, I think.
Oh, that's pretty good.
We're gonna have to figure something out.
Well, we're gonna be going on the road. We're gonna get some footage of this too. So if we see you in a wizard outfit, well, if we go, which we are going.
This is great. I'm going to dress up as a witch.
No, you can't. You have to dress up as a wizard.
Are they enemies, witches and wizards?
Gee, what do you reckon?
No.
They're friends. They're pals. Yeah, they're pals.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. So you can go as the witch.
You got to peacock in some way. If there's like 1,000 wizards and one witch, who are you going to talk to? You're going to talk to the witch.
That's true. Well, it is crypto and it's 90% wizard, 99% wizard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As it turns out.
Yeah. I'm going to disappoint quite a few wizards when I'm there.
Was it Token the year before or the year before last? I know Arthur Hayes had a party, and he had like a bikini party, beach boy party, whatever it was, like a pool party.
Right.
And the word had gotten around the event that it was going to be this bikini party, whatever you want to call it. But like nobody had said, you know what? Crypto's still 99% dude.
Yeah.
And you're going to go to a beach party and there's going to be mostly dudes there.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was all the way out in Sentosa or whatever. And like, I think like it was massively oversubscribed and everyone was going to it. Well, 99% dudes were going to it. And then when everyone got there, everyone was like, hang on, there's just no one dudes here. And they were stuck in the lineup. They're like, oh, it's a total dude fest. It's like,
yeah.
What do you think was going to be the case? That's always crypto anyway. Anyway, go as a wizard, go as a witch, doesn't really matter. We should probably talk about the news because we really haven't.
There's a lot on this week as well.
Robert says to make sure to warm up your wands.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Robert. We will.
Actually,
I don't know. Wait.
We'll do it separately.
Wait.
We don't have to do it together.
What do you mean? What do you mean warm up your wands, Robert? We've got. All right, back to our
Robert,
professional,
otherwise known as Jared. So it's a real person. All right, Robert.
Professionals.
I tip my hat to you.
Okay. All right. So the first headline this week. So it's being reported that the Bank of England is proposing restrictions on the amount of limits on the amount of stablecoins that individuals can hold, stating that this would stabilize outflow deposits from banks. Probably that's the interesting piece here.
Well, the whole thing is interesting to me. Like,
Huh.
how do they propose to do this?
I don't know how they
Like,
would.
just imagine.
I don't know how they would
imagine-
do this.
Like, the only way I can consider that it being possible is they just become this full, military state kind of thing where every time you interact with your Web3 wallet, the guy with the rifle over your shoulder's like, don't send it to that address, send it to that address. And, like literally they're going to have to create this qualified wallet address system or something where kind of like a travel rule, I suppose, where you can only send to wallets that are qualified, because otherwise, you buy $10,000, whatever it is, 10,000 pounds worth of USDT, and you put it in your wallet, and then you send it somewhere, and then you can just buy another 10,000. Like, how do they track what you're still holding and what you're not? There's so many questions. I don't understand how. The only way I can see them actually properly enforcing this, if it's not some lip service thing that they don't plan on enforcing at all, is in this really draconian way, and it's bad news. It's bad news for freedom and.
Is it possible that the Bank of England just doesn't know what they're talking about when it comes to crypto?
It's possible. I mean, I clicked on the link that went to the bankofengland.co.uk website with this big article, and they were using quite large words, and I was like, oh wow.
Well, I believe it.
So either ChatGPT wrote this for them, or they, someone's thought about it. It just seems like this crazy idea. I can only assume that people are going to revolt against this idea, and it's like if this becomes political. Like, this would be such an easy win for the opposing party to say, we're not going to do that. And everyone's like, well, cool, I'm voting for you now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not like it's not like there's any limits on how much cash you can have.
Yeah.
Right? But also, like, the idea that this is somehow, like, potentially destabilizing to the banks, going, well, so many people will want this that our banks won't have any cash left.
Yeah, and if, like, let's think about this. Let's think through this sort of logically. How would this play out? So when you buy stablecoins, you're not withdrawing cash from banks into your literal physical wallet. You're sending money online to an exchange, right? That's how you do it. Or you're sending this money. If you're doing it at size, which is what they care about, they don't care about small stuff. So you're sending Great British pounds to your local exchange in England. So the money's staying in the exchange in the banking system here, right? Yes, sure, it's getting concentrated at an exchange, like an exchange account, but it's not disappearing. It's not getting withdrawn from the system. I guess at some point, the next logical step to see how this is getting withdrawn is that the money has to get FX. So let's say they're buying USDT. At some point, some rebalancing has to happen, and US dollars have to get bought. There has to be some FX trade happening in the market. So GDP is getting sold and USD is getting bought. Okay, I guess, but this just seems like surely they've got more things to worry about. And then that brings me to the point of if they're seriously thinking about something like this, they are taking stablecoins very seriously. They're not sitting there and going, oh, we'll kick this can down the road. They're like worrying about that kind of stuff right now, which is telling. What does this mean? Like, what do they see something else happening?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the big words that you read, so maybe I can't make a comment on this. But it seems to me like if you're going, no, don't do this thing. How about you create some laws that allow your banks to participate in this new thing, so they can capture a lot of the value. For example, if Bank of England or the regulators in the UK, and again I don't know, but kind of did the same thing that happening in the US, made some clarity, which meant the UK banks could now issue their own stable coins. You would actually attract a lot more capital. If you thought this was going to be a real thing, you could pay the roads to play, and you could also participate in this change as opposed to trying to like stifle it with like nonsensical restrictions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess maybe they're extrapolating. Okay, if we create like a GDP stable coin, what's the consequences of that? Does it just get traded away for the US stablecoin and becomes this sort of on-ramping proxy? I don't know. I don't know what their thoughts are. I didn't actually read those big words. I
Did you read them or just didn't understand them?
No, I just looked at the giant article and I went like,
too many big words.
What's that mean? Where it's like, I'm sorry that happened, or I'm glad for you. You know the one I'm talking about? Yeah, I ain't reading all that. I'm happy for you, or sorry that happened to you. But I ain't reading all that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the like. Obviously, this is not in law yet. This is just a proposal that the banks put out. But it seems like a real knee jerk kind of like limiting people, and so they're limiting residential, like limiting retail to £10,000, I think it is, or 10,000 to 20,000 pounds of stable coins. Again, how they can do that, don't know. and they're limiting businesses to I think 10 million pounds,
but it's
which
still-
is a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like,
But it's also ridiculous. It's like, in essence, it's the same. We were talking about this Labubu fad that's going on. Like, in essence, it's no different to like G going, no, you cannot buy $40,000 worth of the Labubus because it's taking out the money. There's too much money leaving the
Exactly.
system to go to Labubus. We have to stop the Labubu buying. Like,
well, this is my thought as well, because if
Doesn't
they're
make
doing
sense.
if they're doing that, like, why not target Bitcoin as well, right? And then that's kind of what made me think. Well, clearly they're really worried about stablecoins because they're like, oh, we don't care about we don't care if you think that the UK, the UK fiat currency is getting debased to all hell, and you want to get out of it and buy gold and buy Bitcoin and buy whatever that you feel is a more like hard currency. We don't care about that. We care about stablecoins.
Yeah, great point.
Like, there's something there. Anyway.
There's something there. So, again, here's another thread we can continue on. Will be interesting to see if
Yeah.
this one comes through.
I mean, this is all very conspiracy theory, so we'll probably never get to the bottom of it.
I'll just ring up my mate, old governor of the Bank of England, and
Yeah,
just
that's
ask him,
right.
say, what are you doing, mate? Maybe he'll be at Token. I can badger him about
Yeah.
my wizard outfit. Seems unlikely, but crazy things have happened, maybe. All right, so moving now actually on to what's happening in the US. So the US, we won't get political here, but it obviously has been a very...
Can't we?
Well, you can do whatever you want.
I thought,
But-
I thought people complained about my politicalness.
Did they?
Anyway,
Okay.
I was always going on about Trump.
Oh.
There was something about Trump anyway. Yeah,
Oh, well, okay. Well, obviously, in the US...
this has nothing to do with Trump, though.
No, this has nothing to do with Trump. The point that I was going to get to, yes, it has been a very, I guess, one of these sort of really sort of outpouring of emotions in the US. I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. We'll try and stay apolitical and talk about what's happening just purely in the crypto markets. The Democrats, okay, so here's some rare unity. It seems like there's a dozen US Democrats which have outlined principles they hope to see in the forthcoming crypto market structure legislation. So here we go. So the Democrats, which had been very much anti the whole cryptotization, I just made that word up, and the Republicans, which have been hugely pro this and have got a lot done, to be fair, have done a lot in this space to get, there's been a real 180 shift, as you all know, in the US in terms of getting pro-crypto legislation in place. But they have basically come out and said Democrats want regulators to issue guidance over which tokens are commodities and which ones are securities, which would, to be fair, is a good thing. In Australia, that would be amazing as well. So some rare unity. What else can you tell us about this one?
So what this is in the we've spoken months past about the Clarity Bill. Clarity Bill was this big crypto bill put forward in the House, like the House of Reps, sort of the US. Trump kind of signed off on it and blah blah blah, but it hasn't passed the Senate yet. So it's currently at the Senate door, waiting to have to be discussed and whatever. The Democrats have gone, look, we see this Clarity Bill basically, and there's also a Senate bill called Innovation Fund, or like the bill for financial digital innovation or something like that, which is kind of related. Basically, the Democrats are like, okay, cool, we see those things, but here's a bunch of stuff. Here's a bunch of principles. They call them like the Democrat principles that we want to see changed in these bills before we're going to give them our tick of approval. So the Clarity Bill already sets out things around the like who regulates coins, whether they're securities or commodities style coins, I guess, which is like the SEC for the securities and the CFTC for the commodity stuff. The Democrats want to see it pushed over more to the securities, more to the SEC side. So they want to see more of these coins done by those. But they're also asking for more things like things around AML and consumer protections, and there's all these other kind of things that they think that aren't strongly, legislated in this bill, as strongly as they want to see anyway. So they've got a bunch of suggestions in these principles that they've put forward. I think it's just pretty much a normal process for how these things work. Like something that gets passed in the House never goes through the Senate without.
I guess they've got a horse trade to get
exactly.
concessions from each
Everyone's
other.
sort of, it's a bit of a turf war. They're trying to who gets what, and they want to show how important and powerful they are by making changes and getting them through. I haven't read what the actual suggestions are. I mean, it sounds reasonable. I'm always a bit nervous about giving the SEC more power because, that didn't work out very well last time when SEC basically took all of the coins and said, we regulate them all, and CFTC is like, what about us? But having said that, you know, the SEC now famously have done a 180 as well, and they're very like I don't know if pro crypto is the right word, but they're thinking about crypto very constructively, logically. They seem to be doing the right things, so maybe it's not the worst thing. But really, the answer here is that the right you know body needs to govern the right coins. Like whatever's the correct thing to do. I don't know what that is. I'm not an expert in the in all that stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's just moving ahead. These are just normal the throes of political stuff.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see from my perspective that you know the Democrats had been so anti-crypto previously under Biden, and you know people like Elizabeth Warren were just so anti it, and it was hard to understand why. It was just really bizarre. It always seemed bizarre to me.
And Trump, the hill she was dying on.
It's so odd. I don't know what her general platform is, but it just seemed like, like you said, an odd hill to die on. And Trump came in and said, no, we're changing all that 180. And now they're like, oh, okay, cool, it's on. I guess we'll just keep going on with it. It's like, well, why did you hate it so much to start with if now you're on board with it? Or you just don't have a choice? I don't know.
I'm guessing she had nothing to do with it.
It must be no backers or something.
Nothing to do with these, like this new bill, I suppose. And I still think... It still, to me, feels like this isn't like the Democrats are like, we're all for it. Here's some cool new ideas. Excuse me. It's more like the Democrats are like, we see what you've done and we don't like it. And here's how we're going to, you know, if we want this to go through, we're going to still need our changes to be put in. And they're placing more like barriers to entry, I feel like. But as I said, like this is completely normal in this space. That's you know, it would be unexpected if that didn't happen, kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would love to see this margy-bargy like this getting on in Australia, where we're at least agreeing to do something.
Yeah,
but I just don't see
we need something. We need some rules.
I just don't see it happening. Sadly, in the near term in Australia, we're such laggards with this kind of stuff. You know, I've said it a bunch of times. It's just not on the agenda right now. Is the reality of it. And everyone always asks me, when's it going to be? You know, when's it going to happen? You know, is it going to happen soon? Everyone tells you it's going to be, you know, soon.
Soon,
no,
TM.
I wish. I don't have many political insider friends, but of the politicians I have spoken to on this matter, it seems to be unlikely.
Yeah.
That it's going to happen anytime soon. There's just too much other stuff on the agenda. Anyway.
I mean, it'll be unlikely until suddenly it becomes this voting, like a voting platform, like a you know, key voter issue or whatever they call it. And then suddenly they're going to be like, oh man, we better do something about this crypto thing.
Yeah.
Better make those crypto guys happy.
Yeah, that's true.
They're smelling. We don't want to smell them anymore.
Well, right now, I guess there's bigger social issues with around generational inequality, and I said we weren't going to take this political, you know, the housing issue.
Inequality.
Too bad if you want to buy a house in Australia, kind of thing.
Yeah, my kids are going to be like, because I'm not going to give them anything, so they're going to be really poorly off.
I could have something.
I'm going to get buried with my Bitcoin.
I want all my wealth to be turned into fiat currency and buried with it. $100 notes.
No, yeah, okay, fair enough. I was going to make some joke about like getting buried with your ledger, but
I could do that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before you go, put it into all into some like crappy coin. Like,
Ohm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like convert it all into Ohm and then put it on your ledger and get buried.
It's so thinly traded. The irony might be that like you dying and converting it all to Ohm is what finally pushes the Ohm price beyond zero.
It's a renaissance.
Renaissance. And all suckering a bunch of new people into this faux pump. Anyway. Crypto surges on the stock market. So after the very successful listing of Circle back in June, which seems an eternity ago, but wasn't that long ago, just a couple months, Gemini listed. So the Winklevi are back at it. They raised $425 million. It's quite a war chest. So there's obviously still some very strong appetite for crypto businesses now becoming public markets.
Yeah. I feel like these guys are going to be... You know, everyone looks to the Circle IPO, right? Like that was such a raging success. And I like grabbed some numbers from that. So the Gemini IPO, basically, they announced the whole thing and said, we're going to do this at $19. That's what we're going to list at. By the time the actual IPO came out, you know, they'd been revising the numbers and it was up to $28. And then they finished the first day, they pumped up to $40 and then they finished it at $33. So 19 to 28 to $33. That's pretty successful, right? Like when you finish the first day and you're above your listing price, the market likes you. If we look to the same kind of stats for Circle, their initial listing, they announced it at $26. So they said we're gonna, you know, this is around the range we're gonna IPO at. They eventually revised it and went to $31 was their actual IPO on sort of at the start of, when they IPO'd it, they did it at $31, and by the end of the first day, it was at $83.
It's insane.
So it's like almost a 3x. So
Insane.
I guess the Circle guys are looking at the Geminis, going, oh, good on you guys. Like, well done, good try. Like,
Yeah,
you
there'd be some
you did
condescending
really
head-
well. Yeah, really well.
Some proper condescending in the head pats there. Yeah,
Yeah,
good luck, good luck, good luck.
no,
Yeah, you
no,
keep going.
that's 30, what would you get then? $33. No, that's very good.
Excellent
Nice.
effort. Yeah, good job, good job.
Yeah. So no, I mean, it was successful there. As long as you like higher than your IPO price, investors are happy. Like it's good. But I guess this is like the diminishing returns thing. As more and more entities IPO, people like the appetite sort of goes down and down, especially for something that's so similar like Gemini and Circle. They're, yes, Circle aren't really an exchange, but they do operate in a very similar way. And yeah, anyway, that's good. It's good.
The Circle IPO though had ticked off in combination with a bunch of other things, particularly I guess the legislation in the US had kicked off a wave. I think the wave was the word I'm looking for. A wave of interest in people issuing stablecoins as well. So I know we've seen a wave of interest in people issuing stablecoins in Hong Kong, and a wave definitely in the US.
Actually, talking about that, we should maybe next week we talk about the hyper liquid stablecoin. Can't stop reading about that. It's just everywhere on my feed. So
yeah,
it's probably worth having a bit of a deep dive into that and understanding what it is.
Okay, because I'm sure people.
Unless you guys have any other suggestions you'd like us to
well,
talk about.
we've disappointed some viewers. So Dan already. So Dan through the week got a hold of me and said,
Dan.
mate.
Oh, our Dan.
Yeah, and said, I love the charts. Get me more charts, man.
Oh, charts.
And you know how many charts we brought in this week?
Yeah,
Zero. Sorry, Dan.
That's what you get for asking, Dan. Those who ask don't get, and those who don't ask don't want. That's what my dad always used to tell me.
Those who don't ask. So how do you get what you want?
That's the.
You don't want
You
anything.
never get anything.
Never get
No,
anything.
You never get anything because
Okay.
your children should be seen and not heard.
Do you,
Anyway, I don't live at home anymore.
well, Mr. Fletcher, if you're listening, Nick talks about you in glowing terms most of the time, just not now. So don't take this as like the. I hope he's watching and he knows you still care. Nick.
Yeah,
You're not really traumatized.
No, of course.
Maybe a little
He's built me to the man I am today.
Next bit on the news. So, we just talked about Solana. So, Milk Road. Milk Road was just a research. Yeah, I know. I had, obviously a play on Silk Road, but Milk Road, which I'd never heard of before. Sorry, Milk Road. I'm sure you do great work. They are out there. What are they talking about? I should have. Solana.
To be honest, with the Solana, so we've got an article here about Solana. A lot of it is talking about the treasury company that recently bought, I think it's Frontier, something like that.
Yep.
Bought 1.5 billion or something of Solana. They're the biggest Solana treasury company that exists at the moment. There was that other one run
Jump
by
Capital, Multicoin Capital. So you're going to say something else?
Oh, there was another Solana treasury, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to be talking vaguely here because I don't remember the names. But there was this guy who announced he was going to run the Solana treasury. He was also the guy who said he had this fund, and there was this. I'm pretty sure it was a fake tweet, but it absolutely did the rounds. Where he was like, my fund isn't down 78%. We're reinvesting in negative strategies to boost. He was this word salad about why his fund was down 78%, and it was on purpose. And everyone, it was so funny. You don't remember this thing? It was like a couple of weeks ago, and he just got absolutely eviscerated in the market.
Of course.
And yeah, Joe McCann, that's the one. Yeah, what was the quote?
Liquid fund.
Yeah, his asymmetric liquid fund was down 70-something%, and his reasoning for it was hilarious. But I think it was a fake tweet. I don't think it was a real tweet, but everyone just lapped it up. It was so funny. Anyway, he was going to do a Solana treasury company as well, but after all that fund thing down 78%, he kind of backed out of it. And I think he's just dug himself a hole and never come out. I don't blame him.
It's easy.
But yeah, so now Frontier Frontier Psychiatrist, Frontier something.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
It's,
I'm not. I'm agreeing with Frontier Psychiatrist. Not that I know the actual name of this thing.
Yeah, Frontier somethings have now become this huge, like the biggest
Forward
Solana-
industry.
Forward, not Frontier. Okay. Yeah, become the biggest Solana thing. Anyway, what I actually wanted to talk about, I think that's by the by. Like, yes, okay, cool, Solana Treasury. You know, ever since the bonk treasury companies come out, like if you're further up the long tail assets, like you're towards the Bitcoin side of things, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about the things on the lower, like the lower end of the long tail assets.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the interesting thing here for me on this part of the news is Base creating a Solana bridge. A decentralized Solana bridge. So, which is kind of interesting to me because Base and Solana are obviously like direct competitors, right? They're both Base is not layer 1, but they're both, base layers basically, layer 2 versus layer 1. They both have huge meme coin kind of trading markets. And Base is sitting there, I feel like they're really taking the high road here and going, look, we're in it for the decentralization. We're in it for bringing everyone to crypto. We're going to make this decentralized bridge so people can just flip between Base and Solana. We don't, if we lose people to Solana, fine. If we get people from Solana, also fine. I think that's pretty cool. Alongside this, Base have semi-announced a token, which is also very interesting because if you look at sort of late last year, Jesse Polak, the head of Base at Coinbase, said, no, we're not going to do a Base token. That's not part of what we're looking at to do. It's not, it's not in our roadmap, anything like that. And now they're saying, look, we've sort of, the more we look at this situation, the more we think a token makes sense.
So what was the rationale? Did you get to the bottom of that as to why they'd want a token?
Well, they're just investigating at the moment. So they're not, there's no, nothing's set in stone. There's definitely no launch date or they haven't decided on any details. They're just they're saying, look, we want to forewarn the market and say, we're looking at doing this thing. Obviously, everyone who's reading this is going, okay, how do we be part of this airdrop? Because they're not just going to give it to themselves and sell it on a DEX, right? They're going to airdrop it like every other token. They want the token to be as distributed across the market as possible. That's generally like, unless you're a full-on scam and you just give it to your insiders and everyone makes bank, you want your token to be as distributed as possible, which is one of the reasons why Bitcoin and even Ethereum is so successful. It's because of the proof of work, mechanism that they have that allows like anyone to join the network and just create their own Bitcoin. It's meant that it is very decentralized and it's why like Ethereum, because they started off as a proof of work network, is so decentralized as well. Yes, there's the pre-mine and blah blah, which if you look in sort of today's terms, the Ethereum pre-mine is actually very small compared to how a lot of new launch tokens work. But
wasn't it like 70% pre-mine or something like that, or is that just one of these internet myths? No, it's a question. I don't know.
Oh, I'm not actually sure. I thought it was 30%, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I don't remember. But either way, my point here is that they're going to want to decentralize this Base token. So everyone's going to look for, how do I maximize my allocation of this Base token? Because it's probably going to do pretty well. Base is a very popular chain. We, integrated deposits and withdrawals for USDC and Ethereum or Ether on Base a couple of weeks back. So how do you do it? Obviously, mucking around with smart contracts, trading on DEXs, stuff like that. I guess they'll come up with some way to do it. They want to avoid the Sybil attacks, where one person can create 1,000 wallets and you do one thing on each wallet and then make bank. So there's all these complicated ways of figuring it out. And I think like they might even look to how Hyperliquid did it. So Hyperliquid did their airdrop for their Hype token. It was like 6 months ago now or something. And the way they did it was pretty good. So if you look at a lot of airdrops that have happened in the recent past, it's sort of like the price does this and then just goes down, and it's never like it just sort of dies off because of, I guess, people just sell it forever. Basically, the insiders have too much of it, and there's no lock tokens and whatever. But Hyperliquid seem to have done they've come across a pretty good way of doing it. Hopefully, Base think hard about how they do this. But yeah, that's probably what I have to say about that. We've kind of moved on from Solana and just talking about Base at the moment. But yeah,
All right, don't mess it up, guys.
Yeah. Think about what you're doing, Jesse. No, I'm sure they've got the smartest people on this. Like they're not stupid. This is there's these playbooks upon playbooks about how different companies have attempted to do this the right way, and
we're still kind of working out how to get it right.
yeah, I mean it's a tough problem to solve, right?
Mm.
Like you have to try and distribute this coin and stop people from cheating the system, but it's all decentralized and anonymous. Like how do you, like it's not easy to solve. So they'll figure out some way of doing it the best they can, and of course everyone's going to a bunch of people will be angry about it and because they didn't get enough or whatever. But
all right, we just thought we need more disagreement, but let's do it civilly. All right, next one we're talking about. So Bitcoin to $1 million or $1 billion. Conjecture over whether Bitcoin will hit 1 million or billion. Oh, by the way, for all these events, I don't sort of reference where we're finding these articles, but they are obviously in our newsletter. So you can always click the link, check it out to see that we're not just randomly pulling stuff. Oh, well, we are actually. We're exactly randomly pulling stuff. Yeah. But it's all based, if you want to go see the actual source of this material and want to find out more about that information, make sure you check out the newsletter. Because basically what we do is we run through all the news.
Yeah, that's right. So anyone who's
if you're looking to find more information
of Independent Reserve will get this newsletter unless you've unsubscribed from it, which is fine. As long as you keep watching the moonshot, I'm okay with that. Yeah, if you're not an Independent Reserve customer, you can still get the newsletter as well. If you go to our website, there's somewhere you can put your email address in and we'll send it to you.
Yep.
Yeah,
because maybe you don't like listening and you want to just use your eyes for reading only. Not using your ears and listen to us rabbit on about stuff. It's a great way to do it.
And I wouldn't blame you.
But back to this particular article, Bitcoin is. I don't think this is crazy. So Bitcoiners are divided apparently between whether Bitcoin will hit 1 million or 1 billion. I don't think. I think we're all thinking it's going up. But Samson Mo from Jan 3, so he's arguing that history of fiat shows that collapse comes all of a sudden and in violent bursts. Which could propel Bitcoin to 1 million in weeks or months, potentially. Not next couple of weeks or months, but maybe. It could be a million by the time we get out of this recording. Who knows? But
I hope we don't meet Samson Mao.
Why is that?
I don't like the guy.
Why not?
Oh, he's just...
Have you met him before?
No, I don't. I've watched... So I think he used to be like the CSO of Blockstream. And yeah... Like I don't want to be controversial and like create enemies on the show, but yeah.
Too late, Nick.
I don't like him. Yeah, we're enemies. He's never met me. He doesn't know who I am. He's never read a single thing that I've written because I don't write things. But we're enemies.
All right.
Yeah.
You've heard now, Samson, no.
So
he's wrong because you. Is he wrong? Is he right, or is he just you just don't like him?
I don't think
he can be both. He can be right, and you can still dislike him.
Yeah, I mean, he said something generic enough here and of course he could be right. Bitcoin might go up. It's like, okay, I can't argue against that. And it could be quick. No, nothing against him. Like I would not be giving, concrete numbers either. Like a fool gives a concrete number and then, telegraphs it to the whole market because then everyone has receipts and you get shat on. But for this article, $1 million to $1 billion. Okay, so the guy who reckons it could get to $1 billion is basically extrapolating data and using what he calls, I think, a demand model and a stock to flow model. Now, the second I read the word stock to flow in that specific order, I immediately was like,
just vomited a little bit.
Yeah, literally, because it just brought back, the 20, I don't know when it was, like 2020 Plan B kind of stuff where he was spouting all that stock to flow stuff, and everyone, including my mate Eric Wall, was like, "What the fuck is this?" Sorry, what the deuce? Stock to flow is just a bunch of nonsense because it models the Bitcoin price purely off what's like off the mining issuance, which is just doesn't make sense in a live market. Anyway, what is done is he said, look, if you invested $1 in the stock market in the 18th century, just hear me out. Today you would have $4 billion off a $1 investment. Now $1 back then was probably worth about $4 billion. It's a lot of money on dollar back then. But so basically what it is extrapolating a lot of data and a lot of
Did he actually say that?
And it's have a read the article if you.
Right.
You got to click the link, I guess.
This is all good theory if you live to 400.
Well, his point is if you look at how that works, investing money into a stock market, not just holding the dollar, you put it in the stock market. 300 years ago or whatever it was. Were they even using money back then? I don't know. They're bartering with shells and anyway.
Good advice if you're Legolas. The
Legolas.
elves
Oh,
live
the
for like
elves
1,000 years, whatever.
Yeah, nice. I love that. Good reference. So what he's saying is, okay, if that's true, then $1 million today will be worth $1 billion in 20 years. That's basically what he's saying. So let's extrapolate that again into Bitcoin, and using my stock to flow and demand model, we can figure out what Bitcoin's going to be worth. And theoretically, I think in 2038 or something, Bitcoin's going to be could be in the $1 billion range. I mean,
Hey, it could be.
Fine. I'd rather I'm more interested in the more a lot of this stuff is talking about Bitcoin being $1 million in 2030 or so. And that's more interesting to me. Like that's in the horizon. We've got a few years to go. Bitcoin at $1 million would be a wonderful thing. Well, would it? Maybe we do a session sometime talking about what would society be like when the US dollar or any dollar I suppose is worth so little that we have something like Bitcoin worth $1 million. That's got to do something to society, right? Like, there's be blood in the streets. Anyway.
Well, I can't remember who said it. Someone was talking about, I guess, what's going on in crypto right now is, analogous to how important things were financially speaking when we moved off the gold standard. We're in a real tectonic shift of, two systems and two ideas about money really clashing, and, one's got to win. Will fiat win, or will effectively the new gold standard of Bitcoin win? Which is a fascinating and huge concept. And I guess it's just awesome to be living at a time and be, having a front row seat, I guess, to watching this unplay.
Yeah.
Take your bets, of course, what'll happen. But, if you're looking at this, I mean, okay, here's the question then. So this really all comes down to time frame. Unfortunately, none of us really have a 300-year time frame. So let's forget that. But in at least the terms of our lives, how should we really be thinking about this in terms of time frame? Is this really, we should be looking more than a 4-year or 5-year or 10-year play. We really should be looking at this on a 20, 30-year basis, going, hey, this is the kind of thing, if you get right, will make your future self very wealthy, but also, potentially your intergenerational, your next generations, a bit like the property market. So
you'll retire your bloodline, as they say.
Yeah. Right. And this is the way I would be thinking about it. If you're right, why are you just scribbling around for maybe a 10x return or whatever? If you're doing this, are you in it for the 1,000x from here, where your family can now go back 500 years ago and use their Bitcoin to buy castles and stuff? You know what I mean? Where timelines obviously don't matter anymore.
We should do a whole thing on this. I've got a lot of thoughts on this, but I'm not going to.
No, well, don't hold them back. Now's a great time to unleash those thoughts.
Okay, well,
time travel, Bitcoin, interdimensional travel. I don't know. You tell me.
Time travel, interdimensional. Okay, now we're getting wild. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Do I want to delay my gratification now for enhanced gratification when I am 60 plus?
Yes.
Yeah, my basic answer is no.
Why not?
I don't want to be happy. I don't want to be living my best life at the end of my life. I want to do it now when I'm young and really young.
Yeah, but
stop laughing. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
Oh, look at Nick! I'm so young. Look at me.
I don't want to live in a cardboard box until I'm 60, and then finally have enough money to, you know what I mean? This is my thought, and I've spoken to my wife at length about this. I'm happy to sort of put delayed gratification where it's appropriate, but I don't want to do it for another 20 years. Yes, I fully believe that in 20 years Bitcoin's probably going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
you're having a terrible time now, Nick.
I don't want to not spend it.
Yeah.
I could be having a better time now.
True.
I could be really warming my wand. but I'm not. I'm here doing a podcast with you.
Hey, I'm having a great time here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be right now.
Jared specifically set the camera up so it just cuts in here where nothing sus can happen.
You know what? This is totally off topic, but it is springtime now. And look, we're wearing shorts, both of us. This is fantastic. Look at the legs. The sun's out. It's time for optimism, renewal of, whatever.
Says the guy in a jumper.
It's only because it's a bit cold in this room.
Yeah, no, fair enough. The aircon is pumping.
Yeah. So the delayed of gratification, how should we think about this? So you think, once you reach, Bitcoin is just a vessel to get you to where you need to be over a shorter period of time,
yes.
not a intergenerational.
No. I think it can be both, but I don't want to sit there and not do anything. like if Bitcoin does get to a price that is
It takes them off the table, you think?
yeah, I think so. Like if it's material enough that it can make my life better, I want to do that now. I don't want to do that in 20 years' time when I'll be like, the richest guy in the universe. It's like, what's the point? There's 20 years of my life that I've, just had to like tread water, going, I can't wait till I'm allowing myself to, reap the benefits of this. The second point I think is, like you brought up, retiring your bloodline, intergenerational wealth.
That requires some sacrifice.
Well, no, yes, probably. Like none of us have enough Bitcoin to do that right now.
Well, you did until you sold it all.
That's right. Yeah, sold it all for Ohm.
Sorry, I shouldn't bring that up.
Then I told the entire office to buy Ohm, so you could be my exit liquidity.
Well, now we're here because of it. So all good things, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd be retired.
That's
the whole
right,
bloodline. But instead, we're here hanging out.
Anyway, my point is, if I was lucky enough to have intergenerational wealth of the galaxy and I could do whatever I want with my money, do I want to retire my bloodline? You hear so many stories about these rich kids who never had to try for anything in their life, and that's not I don't want my kids are too young to worry about that stuff at the moment, but my 7-year-old, I talk to her fairly regularly about the importance of trying hard and working hard for things, and how just getting stuff for free doesn't bring you the satisfaction you think it will. All those kind of classic parent stories. But if I had a million billion, that's impossible, there's only 21 million. Let's say I had 1 million Bitcoin, I was like, right, that's it. My family never has to worry about anything ever again. I'm like, far out. Like that's a heavy burden to bear, because I would be changing the course of and obviously this is all hypothetical because I do not have enough Bitcoin by far to do any of that stuff, but yeah, that's right. I don't have, but my point is, like, if I did, it's just as a thought experiment, would I want to, like, would I just lock it away in some thing and go, sorry guys, you gotta work for be a real human and work hard and earn, build yourself up and earn your own life.
Well, okay.
Shaq's not giving anything to any of his kids.
Yeah, okay. So
Well, just to be and good on Shaq for having that view. I will take the contrarian view, Nick. Well, if you had all the wealth you needed right now, then maybe you'd become that person that you don't want your kids to be.
No, I don't think so, because I grew up like a normal person, I hope, and had to work. I've gone through that stage of my life. It's too late for me to grow up and be,
well, we know your dad taught you not to want things.
That's
but
right.
Here you are wanting all this money now.
Well, like he held it back for so long. Now I have to want. It's in my blood. Anyway.
No, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating debate.
I think there's a lot of and I don't know. Hopefully, I haven't annoyed anyone too much, but I think it's interesting. Like, if anyone's got any of their own ideas about how they would handle this situation, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I had this conversation with an Uber driver, and he was sort of talking about there was an issue in the US where there was some rich kids that like did stuff that was kind of really horrible, and they coined a term which is called affluenza, which is basically the idea that there's these rich kids that have grown up out so removed from, I guess, the reality of like society, and in terms of what they knew to be right and wrong was kind of actually really warped.
Yeah, right.
And in this particular case, it's hard to sort of stomach, but it's kind of like they hit somebody and they didn't stop. And their defense was, oh, we didn't know what to do because we're too rich. It was, in essence, what they kind of come up with, which just sounds pretty disgusting, to be honest. But that was kind of what But anyway, that was this whole point that you're talking about. If you end up being too pampered and having to exist in your own little bubble world, then it's not a good thing.
Yeah. I feel like the bloodline would get diminished as well. Like, with each generation, you just get this. What's that thing where they say, like, strong men sire medium men who sire weak men who, you know what I mean? Like there's the.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
There was the hard times create strong men.
Yeah,
strong men
that's
create
the one.
good times.
Yes,
good times create weak men.
Yeah.
Weak men create bad times.
times. Bad times create strong men. Yeah.
Hard men. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I'd be the weak men would the weak generations would bounce forth from that if you sort of just retire your bloodline. So don't worry about working, guys. You just keep chipping away at this Bitcoin stash that I built up when I was, didn't know what I was doing.
No, a good friend of mine said that's kind of the nature of societies. It's like a pendulum. It moves left, it moves right, but it's always just constant pendulum moving between various states. Man, we really have gotten off the news.
Yeah, what's the time?
We've got plenty of time left. Okay, all right. So, here's an article I totally looked over. But Nepal, Web3 revolution. I love to see, like, smaller countries where they don't have quite the infrastructure, perhaps not the financial, inclusivity or infrastructure that more developed countries have had. And they went, hey, we do have the internet and we've got this new technology and we can start effectively from scratch with using this new technology to go and do some cool stuff with our economy. So I don't know exactly what's happening in Nepal. That's why I'm asking you the question. Hopefully you've done the research because I forgot to actually read this one. But it's actually, on the quick glance that I did take of it, sort of a fascinating, a case. A bit like El Salvador, which I know we're going to touch on actually a bit later as well. But in Nepal, talk us through what's going on over there, given the back of some political turmoil that's happening over there.
Yeah, so their president recently stepped down due to like corruption and blah, blah, blah. He just got too much pressure. One of the things he did was he was like, in his never-ending quest to control the people, was he banned social media across the entire country. Not just social media, but like things like WhatsApp and messaging applications as well. So all that stuff, he basically said, "Yep, that's out." And so the big country firewall stopped it from working, and all the internet providers had to block the ability for their customers to use it. And people did not like this. Now, when I was reading this story, it was really focused on Gen Z. They called themselves, and obviously this is like the young people. So the Gen Z seems to have been the real politically motivated, protesting kind of group of people. They went absolutely crazy for this stuff. Forced him to resign. They've been like climbing the walls into Parliament and burning buildings and really like taking a stand against this stuff. What's that? They beat up one of the former prime ministers. Wow. Okay.
Oh, really?
Oh, man.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah. Anyway, like it's kind of interesting. So the way they've gotten around this stuff, it's become like these real guerrilla tactics, right? So they don't have WhatsApp, they don't have Telegram, they don't have TikTok, they don't have Snapchat a thing anymore. I don't even know. They don't have any of these applications to communicate. So they've used this.
Jack Dorsey's
BitChat. BitChat, yeah. So the way BitChat works is it's not on the internet; it's Bluetooth peer-to-peer.
Oh, fascinating.
So it's wild. So instead of using the internet for this stuff, which they can't anymore, they just use this BitChat thing, which relays messages using phones' Bluetooth connections. It's pretty cool. And so they've kind of resorted to that. The banks have basically, there's been a blanket ban on crypto in Nepal for a while now, no surprises there. And so they can't use their money for anything. So now they're using USDT to buy stuff. They're using Bitcoin. Because that stuff, they don't have to worry about people, the banks just putting, kiboshing a transaction. They're like, nah, let's just use the blockchain.
Well, just not to interrupt you, but to make a quick point on that, there was a 25-year-old protester in Kathmandu who said, we cannot rely on the banks. USDT is the only money that moves when everything else is blocked.
Yeah.
This is the thing. And we have seen this in developed countries because we saw this happen in Canada. Remember there was the truckers they were protesting and they came out and they banned people and they went sort of on this witch hunt for people and they blocked people donating.
Yeah.
And it's incredible that we live in a society where just the idea, that's the tip of the iceberg. But Nepal, we've seen a situation, I guess, not that I'm that familiar with what's happening in Nepal, and apparently it's being now run by the military. So things aren't going great there. So I mean, that's incredible. So you're just trying to live your life, but you have a group of people called the government that's just deciding what you can and can't do, and
so of course, like
how you can communicate. It's outrageous.
Yeah, and the protesters are obviously getting oppressed in every way possible. Again, I don't know the specific details of this stuff, but it seems like the military have stepped in. I think the military are on the right side of this. I don't want to hang my hat on that statement, but what's really interesting, and we're kind of going a little bit off crypto here, is that there's this group called Hemi Nepal, and they're like this NGO. They try and like make things better and blah blah, and somehow they've kind of become this rallying point, like this coordination hub for the protesters, and they've got they work off Instagram and Discord. Now, Instagram, I guess, is not available anymore, but Discord still is for some reason. And so there's like 140 or something, 150,000 people in this Discord chat. run by this Hemi Nepal group, and the Hemi Nepal group have gone from this like NGO, like non-profit kind of thing, to a organization that's organizing the youth of Nepal on how they're going to protest, where they're going to protest, and like just creating all this organization to the point where the military got in touch with the leaders of the Discord channel of Hemi Nepal and said, hey, we need to figure out something here. You guys have obviously got a huge audience of locals. How are we going to, like, what are we going to do? Who do you think we should put in as an interim leader in the meantime?
That's incredible.
And so this Discord channel's figured out, like they've, asked the people and blah, blah.
Had a proxy almost election process through
exactly. And so they ended up picking some lady, I can't remember what her name is now, but she apparently is staunchly anti-corruption, blah, blah, blah. And she said, yep, look, I'll do it. If that's what the young people want, okay, fine, let me step in until we can do a proper election process, which seems like the right thing to do. But I just can't believe this whole thing's organised over Discord, and it's the biggest political Discord ever. Like there's no bigger one that has ever existed. So this whole thing is crazy, and it's just the way, it's heartening in a way that when things get really bad, they're relying on crypto basically.
Yeah.
Now, if we think back to the trucker thing, that was a bit more organised, I suppose. And what concerns me there more is it's not that the government's shutting this whole thing down, but in the Canada trucker situation, you can kind of demonise yourself a bit by donating in crypto, and then if they know what your wallet addresses are, that you can kind of get potentially persecuted by the government for that. I don't know. Like I don't want to sit there and go, okay, bad stuff gets done. Like, they use crypto because it's anonymous and people can get away with anything. It's kind of, I think there's a fine line here. It's getting used for, in my mind, the right thing. They're like, there's been an oppressive government regime that needs to be stopped, and they're using crypto and peer-to-peer technology to kind of help solve that problem, which didn't exist 10 years ago, Anyway,
yeah,
so it's pretty cool. Well, cool's the wrong word.
Oh yeah, user question incoming.
To anyone, can the US government manipulate the price of Bitcoin?
You want to take it?
It's a good question. I guess the the question was, can the US government manipulate the price of Bitcoin? Well, I guess there's probably a number of ways that I would probably think about that. First and foremost is that I guess anyone with enough size could potentially manipulate the price of Bitcoin for both good and bad.
It's getting harder and harder.
It's getting harder and harder. But let's say, for example, the US came out and said, if the US came out and said tomorrow, we are going to buy $20 billion worth of Bitcoin, pretty sure the price would just skyrocket a lot.
Said that,
and that's before they even actually necessarily bought it. But is that manipulation, or is that just new market information? I guess the other thing they could do potentially would be to, sell all their holdings. That would also have a really negative impact negative impact. So again, is that manipulation or just new market information? I guess the thing with Bitcoin that we know is different to traditional markets, just from, I guess, a structural point of view, is that Bitcoin there's at any one given point in time, like a bunch of different markets. It's not like there's one NASDAQ where everything trades between 10 to 4 p.m. every day. Where one buyer can come in and size. You can push, markets around on one particular exchange, but the fact is there's 1,000 venues out there, and there's going to be arbitrage opportunities, which means that things are going to, it's going to be a lot. It's just, if someone sat out there and just gone, I'm going to go and I'm not going to tell him what I'm doing. I'm just going to, I don't know, Trump decides that he's going to go and send $1 gazillion to, Morgan Stanley and say, hey boys, on the slide, can you manipulate the price? It would be possible, but it would actually be it'd be a lot more tricky than probably in traditional markets, just given the fact that there are so many different markets for it.
100%. Like it's always going to be a softening effect if you try and do it that way. I'm just trying to think, like, if it were me and I was the US government and I wanted to do something with the Bitcoin price, how would I do it? I don't think it would be by buying or selling. Like, that might be a second order, like a secondary thing I might do later. But let's say we wanted to drop the price, I would be doing it, and I'm an evil organization, right? Like, so I'm trying to maximize impact here. I would be doing something like what Trump has already done, which is to say, I am super friendly with crypto. Let's get all the crypto companies in here. We're going to be the hub for crypto, make a real big song and dance about it, and get everyone looking at the USA for crypto and everyone agreeing that yes, the USA is the place for crypto.
Ooh, I like where you're going with this, Nick. I see.
Yeah, you can probably see where I'm going with this. And then to go like, by the way, Bitcoin is banned. Using decentralized exchanges, you go to jail. You know, like just suddenly coming in with this stuff, like going, you know what, we've decided it's actually a tool for evil. It needs to go to zero. We're banning it. And that's you've sucked it all in, and then you just like cut it off at the edges. And suddenly, like, you know, yeah, what comes out of the ashes of that? I don't know. That'll be kind of interesting. It's it is pretty evil. I don't think that's where we're going.
It's a 4-day chess.
At that point, you sell everything, you dump everything market to sell on the on the market and make it look like this price is just going to go to negative numbers, right? I don't think Bitcoin will ever, like at this stage that we're at, I don't think Bitcoin's going to zero. It's kind of, it's battle tested. It's the Lindy effect is strong. It's
but even that,
but it you know, they could really crater the price.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess the other thing would be they would then, you know, once you reveal your hand to be evil, then you then from an information flow point of view, somewhat get locked out of it. It's a bit like the prisoner game, you know, the prisoner dilemma.
Yeah.
Once you've cheated, then everyone kind of now you're excluded. People go, okay, we trusted you, you cheated, now we don't trust you anymore. So everything you do then after that becomes
true. But I mean, like everything after that would be something else, right? If all we're talking about is the Bitcoin, like, you know, could they manipulate the price of Bitcoin? Yeah, they absolutely could if they wanted to. Would they? You're right. I think it'd be kind of like the last thing they do, if you know what I mean. Like the last thing they do, if they're at the moment, they're still upholding Western values and trying to do the right thing. And, you know, they've kind of backed off the whole Ukraine thing, which is a bit worrying, but like they're still sort of seen as this, you know, big democratic power for the people, by the people.
It would be pretty
they've got everyone's back. They've got these, you know, everyone's got security agreements with the US, and then they kind of do something like that, and it's like, oh, okay. So
it's a weird. It'd be a really weird thing to do that because I mean, if they go and hey, we're going to make crypto the superpower, you know, US the superpower of crypto, and you know they get all their American businesses to buy into it, they get a bunch of their citizens to buy into it,
exactly,
and then they go and rug their entire
the population. It's I don't think, again, I'm just sort of thinking about worst case scenario. How would I do it if I was really a bad boy and wanted to do something like this?
Evil Nick, no wonder.
But I think like the opposite is true as well.
What is an evil wizard? Just an evil wizard? A warlock. Warlock,
like a
Nick.
necromancer or something. I think the opposite is true though as well. Like if we think about how could they do the other way is also an interesting thought experiment. So, and I think a lot of people have thought about this for years now. So what if a country, and it kind of has to be the US, kind of has to be the reserve, like a country with a reserve currency, decides, okay, secretly, we can see the end of the road for the US dollar. Like its reserve status is going to go away at some point in the near future. What do we do? And someone decides, like, okay, let's put it all behind Bitcoin. So they print as much as they possibly can.
Yes,
they buy as much Bitcoin as they can. And then they just go, you know what? We're not doing USD anymore. And like they just dissolve all of their debts, basically. And print their way out of any kind of debt and then say, see you later, fellas. And the US dollar is now worth nothing, but they have a shitload of Bitcoin.
Look, I love that one. Yeah. We've seen, I know people have talked about that before. That's not a new idea. It is.
And that again would pump the price to heaven.
Gazillion, right? Like and they're like, oh, by the way, we have all of it.
Yeah. And we are.
You get kidnapped because you're Satoshi, and they're like, where's your private keys for that million Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Warlock Nick.
But you do have to be careful because I guess if you, like, say they owned, 10 million Bitcoin or something, it's too much. Like they would then be, people would be like, oh God, like they could move this market wherever they wanted to because they just have too much Bitcoin. So you'd have to play it smart, and you'd want a controlling share, but you wouldn't want too much, and it'd be difficult. Like, and this is where we talk about things like Sailor and strategy. Like, at what point do they have too much?
Yeah. It's a good question. Well, one country that is it's a country that's definitely, has bought Bitcoin, but are they still buying Bitcoin? El Salvador versus the IMF. So here's an interesting one. So it's been reported that El Salvador is still buying. Is El Salvador still buying 1 Bitcoin a day? They came and said yes, but according to the IMF, who deals with them based on various loan stuff, they're saying no, they're not.
I love this story.
So which one is it?
This is my favorite. Like, where what's his name, Bukaki or whatever, says, "Hey guys, we're buying 1 Bitcoin a day," and then the IMF says, "No, you're not." And then he's like, "Yeah, we are." And it's like, hang on, like surely he should know what he's buying, right? So like this El Salvador guys should know what they're buying. But then on the other hand, they have a deal with the IMF where they had to kind of scale back their Bitcoin stuff back in like
So
last
which one
year
is it?
sometime. So what is it? Can they? Like,
Ask.
They both know. And my favorite part about this story is how when the journalists spoke to both of them, they're like, "Hey guys, like, are you guys still buying, like, to Salvador? Are you guys still buying Bitcoin?" They're like, "Yep, we are." Then they've refused to answer any more questions. And then IMF, they're like, "Hey, are they still buying Bitcoin?" And the IMF are like, "No, they're not." And then they refused to answer any more questions. It was like they gave one word answer both sides, and they're like, "We're not talking about this anymore." This whole thing is so like playground,
that's
schoolyard, I just loved it. I thought it was so funny.
Conspiracy then.
What's the conspiracy?
Speculate. Now's your time to speculate
The
wildly,
thi-
Nick.
So what's
No.
what I think is happening here is they can both word this in a way where they can both be right.
Oh.
So they're both sitting there going, yes. Like one of them's like, yeah, no, we're still like, look, there's a Bitcoin that's going into our, because they've got a public wallet, right? Everyone can see it on the blockchain. They're like, look, watch, there's still a Bitcoin every day going into this wallet. But the IMF are like, aha. Yes, you are increasing your Bitcoin holding in that wallet by 1 Bitcoin every time, but you're just taking it from this other wallet. You're not actually buying Bitcoin from someone. You're just moving Bitcoin. Anyway, so there's this like argy-bargy with semantics and whatever.
Right.
But it's still just like a really funny story to read. I thought, like, we're buying Bitcoin. No, you're not. And like, what do you know what we're doing? We're like, we know what you're doing. We agreed before, but we're still doing it. Like, it just seems so funny. Like, I don't know why they're disagreeing on this. I think it almost feels like El Salvador are trying to keep up this facade.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't think they are. Like, it's
he hitched his wagon. He kind of, the president there hitched his wagon of Bitcoin. He's like, we won't be told what to do. We're buying Bitcoin. It's freedom money. It's blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, but we won't kowtow to the IMF. And the IMF was like, well, if you want to deal with us, you can't keep buying that Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And so he's in this position where he can't look like, oh yeah, I'm kowtowing to the IMF. And the IMF can't look like, well, they don't listen to us.
Yeah. They keep
You
buying
show me
Bitcoin.
respect, young man.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's tough for a country like El Salvador. They, the El Salvador, like the IMF loans are like the oxygen to this country, right? And the IMF can just go turn it off, and they're in dire straits. They're in a lot of trouble. So they don't really have a choice. They have to deal with the IMF. I think they're still trying to. I think what's the leader's name? You want to give it a go?
Bukele.
Bukalele. Okay. Yeah, he's trying to like be like show a strong front, but he's
Well, his image is kind of being a strong man. I mean, he cleaned up all that crime and he
built those mega jails and whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think they've got no choice but to deal with the IMF and the consequences of them not like it's bad.
I mean, he nailed the Bitcoin call. Like anyway, the IMF doesn't get it.
Yeah, I know. We've spoken about this before as well. I always found it funny how, back in like when Bitcoin wasn't worth that much, but Saylor is going around talking about, I bought 7,000 Bitcoin, I bought 20,000 Bitcoin or whatever, and Bukalele is like doing these victory laps after buying like 3.5 Bitcoin, just like really like shouting it to the market. Look what I've done.
Bitcoin forever.
Anyway, I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I wish I had that much Bitcoin.
Well, you did.
I did.
I shouldn't keep reminding you about the time you had all that Bitcoin, Nick, because you don't have any more.
Yeah, goddamn.
That's all right. Life's still good. Last bit of news before we wrap things up. No charts. I feel really bad for Dan. Like, he's on his treadmill. He's listening.
Yeah.
He can't see. We've got nothing visual for him except for me and you, which he's already seen anyway.
Yeah.
We've really let him down.
Boring. No charts.
Last
Sorry,
bit.
there was no real charty kind of news this week. I could have done. There was one. What was that one? The one about Gemini. I could have done some charts on the IPO. I don't know. It's not interesting. None of that stuff was interesting. Sorry, folks.
So no charts for charts' sake, I'm afraid. All right, well, last bit of news. So we'll have a quick wrap then of the Hong Kong news and the Vietnam. So again, 2 jurisdictions, Vietnam, like Thailand. I mean, I think they again, it's a bit like the Nepal situation. They just kind of have a chance to kind of leapfrog into a new financial system. That's kind of my reading of it. Hong Kong, is it a test ground for like mainland China now? Is it just Hong Kong doing its own thing?
I mean, this is the whole thing. Like, so Hong Kong, the China government or regulator has banned Chinese companies from using Hong Kong as a way to get involved in crypto. So I think basically what they saw was, Hong Kong are, as you said, they're like this test bed for new technologies and new constructs. And all these Chinese companies got really excited, like, oh, okay, is that how we do it? Okay, I understand now. And then the Chinese government's like, no, this is just for the Hong Kong guys. And anyone kind of like, that international community wants to get involved, we can trust them out there, but you guys still are not allowed. I think that sort of just put the brakes a bit on the Chinese companies specifically getting exposure to these kind of things. Because I think we spoke about last week how Hong Kong have, some legislation around stablecoins, and it was about like, here's how we're going to do. We're going to like, here's how if you want to issue a stablecoin, here's how it's possible. And like 40 different organizations turned up and was like, yeah, we're definitely going to do it. And then the next week, Hong Kong's like, no, none of you are going to do it. There's like one of you who are serious. The rest of you get the hell out of here.
The rest of you don't. Some of you guys have applied, you don't even have an office.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nice try.
And half of you that have an office, the office doesn't even have a roof.
And the Hong Kong, exactly.
Can you guys sort yourself?
That's just a cardboard box. Like, you can't operate out of that. Yeah. So I think I think they really were like, whoa, we need to put the brakes on this.
Yeah, we're going.
And there's like another step further is getting, the Chinese companies to like, well, you guys need to put a brake on this as well. Like, it's not just a free for all. You can't just all go for it. There's still rules.
Hong Kong, in terms of the regulator, they are as far from like the Wild West as you can. Like they're very serious regulators over there, and they take stuff seriously. From we've had to deal with them. Like they're world class. So they're not going to rush things. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Which is good. Segue about regulations. Another question.
Oh, we've got another incoming question.
Has the Australian government embraced crypto yet? And
no.
If not, do them or any other government organisation have an IR account?
Well, unfortunately, we privacy. We can't mention who does and who doesn't have an account. But as far as the government, we talk about this all the time. But the shorter answer is no. They don't care about crypto. It's just, well, you know what? I don't know how to put this. I've used this expression before. I think to say they don't care about it is probably disingenuous. I think it's just not, they know that it's an area they need to look at from all the conversations we've had. Both sides know that it's something that they need to look at. But just realistically, in terms of the agenda, it's just not high enough a priority for either side to really make front and centre. And maybe just given the constraints of the way politics operates in Australia, just unfortunately not a priority. And so I don't know, I've used this example before. It's a bit, I guess they care about it to the same extent you and I care about the Wiggles. It's not like they dislike it. It's just that it's not their thing.
I had a real Wiggles phase for a while.
Did you?
When you got a 3-year-old, and you're only watching Wiggles.
I never got into Wiggles.
Did a bit of research.
Which is, did you have a favourite Wiggle?
Well, so I'm from Generation 2 Wiggles. Generation 1's obviously like the 4 dudes where only one of them can sing and the rest are just like decent at musical instruments. Generation 2 is where they can all sing, including that and they're like actual sort of musicians and properly in the space. And Generation 3 is what we're in now, where there's like 72 Wiggles and you got like a person from every type of minority from so I'm real Generation 2. Yeah, favorite Wiggle, Lockie definitely.
Lockie. Yeah, I like the red Wiggle. I always thought he had a great sense of humour. A great Wiggle.
Emma,
everyone loves it. You know what? I
got a lot to say about this, so let's
Well, I have been to a Wiggles concert because, of course, when my kids were young, we took them along.
I've done.
And I'm not going to lie, I had a great time. It was fantastic.
Really?
Well, they do a great performance. Obviously, they've done it for a long time, but it's the whole theatrics of it all.
Was this a Generation 2 concert?
Yeah, Anthony was there.
Anthony's never not been there.
Well, he's been the consistent. He's been the key through it all. Emma was still there.
Okay, it's Generation
and
2.
No, they were great because they're great performers. They did the whole thing, and there's a whole everyone was going on. The big red car went around. The kids were having a great time. Yeah. And Anthony's hilarious because he knows that it's the only reason it's 50% adults and 50% kids because it's a 1-to-1 kind of thing. So he caters jokes at a high level, which the kids don't get, which the parents is hilarious, genuinely hilarious. And then he does all the kid stuff.
Yeah.
So I dig it. I don't know if I'd go again as an adult.
Just go on your own.
Maybe
turn up on your own.
Gen 1 was doing adult shows, and that's when that guy had the heart attack. He was doing an adult show at the Marrickville Theatre.
One of the Gen 1 guys, was it Murray?
He was doing an adults only Wiggle show.
Oh.
And that's when he had the heart attack.
Which one was it? Murray? Jeff?
No.
Don't know.
So Jeff's the one who goes to sleep.
Not on stage though, because of heart attack.
Probably not on stage.
Can I digress for another funny story?
Okay,
This is just a random thing. Like I remember the couple, just like a random news segment where they were talking to Murray and they were talking to Jeff, just about life as becoming famous when they first got famous. And Murray was like saying how it was weird because he would go down to his local for a beer and like it would be front page news like Murray Wiggle has a beer. Like he's like, what? I can't have a beer now.
My name is Wiggle.
First of all, yeah, exactly. But it's pretty crazy. He's like, I'm just a regular dude. I just do this is my job. And Jeff was saying that all the local kids were just non-stop because every morning, like there was kids going by, wake up, Jeff. And he's just like, this is my life now. Like Matt Damon, like once just had to cover. This originally started talking about politics. I mean, not politics, the regulation in Australia. So I think the tongue-in-cheek comment about the Wiggles is really just that. It's like this thing that they know they have to get to at some point. It's like, but it's not unimportant, and it's a cool thing. They know it's happening. It's legit. They don't dislike. It's just not what is important to them right now.
Yeah,
that's probably the way I'd categorize it. But the reality means we're going to be stuck in this limbo until it becomes important to them.
Yeah, we've had lots of suggestions. Treasury's come up with some papers. Independent Reserve is quite involved in this process. Whenever the government starts talking about crypto, they always want to get industry consultation, and we're right up there with that. Obviously, we spend a lot of time, a lot of our time coming up with consultation responses to try and make sure that this stuff gets in properly. Unfortunately, every time it sort of gets to a certain step of the process, and then usually the steam runs out, and maybe like it's just a new different party gets elected, and suddenly it's like, oh, we've got to start this whole thing all over again.
Well, on a serious note, Andrew Bragg was the Liberal senator who had run a bipartisan, I guess, inquiry into this and got a lot of, comments and analysis from all the various parties, and was very close. So he had produced the most detailed, I guess, framework that almost went to legislation. And we were very close. We were very close. And I think we got to the point where I guess part of this consultation process is that, the government goes, okay, we consult with industry, as you said. We want to get your views because you guys are the experts, and then we'll draft legislation with what works with us and all this kind of stuff. And part of that process, I believe they actually give you funding to go and get lawyers to help draft up legislation that you can then submit to kind of Treasury. Don't quote me on that. Maybe that's not the case, but that's my understanding. That's kind of how this process works, which is actually a pretty cool thing to see. And so we were very, very close, but then what happened was effectively there was an election, Labor came through and said, well, if the Liberals are doing it, we don't want it anymore. Let's start again. And they promised, they had made various promises. And to be honest, I think there are 100% people on the Labor side that get it, but them getting the breathing space and the bandwidth to make this a priority versus the other things that are going on in terms of their priority as a party. It's just without being sort of cheeky about it, it's just a challenge because it's just not quite yet a priority. Hopefully that changes, or hopefully they just give something, but we'll see. Because going into the last election, both parties, at least, and here's at least some development, both parties had somewhat of a plan. They both went to the crypto industry and said, hey, here's what we're going to do for you. Andrew Charlton is the guy on the Labor side. And he seemed earnest, but none of what he said came through. But that's not to say he wasn't sincere about it. It's just that, getting the bandwidth to look at this. And now, I guess on the Liberal side, Peter Kennedy's one of the guys who's sort of picked this up and running with it. And I know he's very knowledgeable about it. And keen to sort of make some stuff happen. But like anything else, it's just argy-bargy and it takes time. So that's my more serious answer without bringing the Wiggles into it. You had comments about the Wiggles though?
No, let's not get into it. I've always got comments about the Wiggles. Okay,
fair enough. I think, we have run out. We've used our full allocation. So thanks for stopping by, everyone. Thanks for listening. Do we have any more questions, Jared? Any more comments from the thing? I think we're wrapped. So, hey, awesome. Thanks again. Thanks for hanging out, sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for listening to our views and, all that kind of stuff. Stay friends out there, people. Hang on. We said we're going to have no, we're not going to do this again because we decided to do like a bit of a catchphrase thing. And when we did, it was so awkward and so cringe. We vowed never to do it again. And again, it was Jared's fault because because he said, hey guys, why don't you say it in unison? And we were like, blibbity flibbity dub dub, but we said it together and it was horrible. Yeah. Do you remember that? Let's never do that again. Yeah, okay. But do you want to finish on something that is, no, I just made it awkward.
I haven't thought about it. I wish I'd done, I was too busy reading the actual news. I'm not spending time working on a catchphrase. Flibbity bibbity dub dub. Was that what you suggested?
That was just me mimicking the stupid thing that we said
we should start a flibbity dibbity flibbity bibbity dub dub coin. and like get some liquidity
Hey,
flowing.
Nick, this week you need to go out, find yourself a wizard or witchy outfit or whatever. Give it a trial run with the people next week before you go in front of Eric Wall and embarrass yourself with it. All right?
Yeah, I could turn up in a wizard outfit.
That's a cosplay next week.
Yeah, okay. All right. See what I can come up with.
All right. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay.
We'll be back next week, same time. Give us a like, subscribe. You know the drill. Ciao for now.
See you later.